Yeah, let's start with the game Friday night then. Two of your former clubs. Is it a fixture that has special meaning for you because of how kind of your experiences with both clubs and the fact you represented them both?
Yeah, certainly. I think as a player, when you finish playing, you always look for your previous club's fixtures and results and stuff. So yeah, it's certainly a game I'm looking forward to. And yeah, I'm glad it's on Sky as well. Actually, I was supposed to be going up for the game when it was on Saturday, but obviously because it's Friday, I've had to cancel. But I'll be sitting on my sofa watching it indoors, so I'm looking forward to it.
You'll be hoping for a draw, won't you? That's always the diplomatic answer when.
Yeah, I suppose I'll have to say a draw. Yeah, no. It's obviously two teams that are looking to sort of get into the playoffs. I'd say Hull have started the season fairly well and are in and around at the moment. Norwich, of course, has been a little bit inconsistent and will be looking to this sort of game to win to get back on track a little bit. So yes, it should be a good game.
From a Norwich perspective, I mean, going to Hull away, I mean, you kind of mentioned it there, having a really good season. They've just signed Fabio Carvalho today. If it wasn't a daunting task already, it feels really daunting this Friday. It sounds like it's going to be a sellout as well from the Hull side.
Yeah, no, certainly with the start they've made Hull, and I think the manager that's in there at place and the chairman and everything, I think that the fans have sort of come back into the stadium a little bit more, and they're having more and more sellouts. So it's great for Hull City. As for Norwich going up there on a Friday night, it will be a tough place to go. Under the lights, of course, and like you say, with a new player coming in who's very exciting, and yeah, it will be a tough game. But I think teams have shown, recently that you can take points off Hull at the MKM Stadium. So they'll be looking to get something from the game Norwich, and it'll be interesting to see how the game goes.
Yeah, and it feels like a kind of big game. I mean, you referenced it earlier, big game for Norwich and their sort of playoff aspirations, because it's 4 points, I think, that they're behind Hull at this moment in time. Obviously, a win would shorten that to 1, and a defeat would push it to 7, which at this stage of the season feels like quite a big gap. So probably doesn't feel too much of a stretch to label it as a must win, but maybe more of a must not lose for Norwich, given the situation they're in.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, I think Norwich probably feel that they can't really afford to lose this game. And they'll feel, obviously, to look at the table, if they can win, then they put some right back in touch with the top 6. So it's a great opportunity for Norwich to climb the table a little bit more and get closer to the top 6 as a whole. They'll be looking, I'm sure they'll be looking at and trying to keep Norwich at arm's distance.
What are your memories of playing for Norwich City? Are they positive memories? Is it a club that you reflect on really positively when you look back on your career? Yeah,
certainly. I had quite a tricky start when I first went there. I was sort of went there middle of pre-season. I wasn't really fit, and I started the first game. We lost 5-0 away to Fulham, so it was a tough start, and I was left out the next game. So it was a tricky start for me personally. I had to get myself fitter and get back into the team. But when I did, I thoroughly enjoyed my first season at Norwich. We had some great results, beating obviously Arsenal, Manchester United at home. So there's some great memories. And of course, the second season, I picked up an injury at the start of the new year when the team was doing quite well. Actually, I think we were just short of mid-table, and then obviously things went downhill slightly, and we ended up getting relegated. So the second year was obviously disappointing. But overall, loved my time at the club. I loved living in the area. Everything about the club really is a great feel to it, and I'm sure players are still enjoying their time playing for Norwich.
I think when you ask Norwich fans about the name Michael Turner, they remember that header against Aston Villa in the 1-1 draw. How fondly do you remember that moment? Because a goal in the Premier League for any player at any point in wherever they are at in their career is a big moment. What are your memories of that moment and that game in particular?
Fond memories of that goal. Actually, I remember the game being on I think it was like a lunchtime kick on a Saturday on Sky. And I think actually I made a slight error for the goal, for put them 1 up. So to get the equaliser in a game that I do remember the game actually, and we played really well that day, and certainly deserved at least a point from that game. And obviously my goal got us a 1-1 draw in the end, but obviously Villa Park, Aston Villa's a great place to play, and for us and for me to score in that game was a huge memory for me. My time at the club.
It's quite interesting to speak to you because you were part of the last Norwich team that obviously stayed in the Premier League or was in the Premier League and was able to stay there. It's been a little bit difficult for Norwich thereafter and more recently, particularly the last 2 seasons they've had in the Premier League. What was kind of, I don't know, the secret? How did you guys go about doing that? Do you think it's more difficult now with the wealth and the disparity between the Premier League and the Championship when you come up? Why is it so difficult for teams like Norwich to get into the Premier League and stay there as you guys managed for sort of 3 seasons?
Yeah, I don't know. I think, like you say, probably the wealth of clubs these days, the established clubs are becoming stronger and stronger, and you see the pool of talent they've got. Teams have got 22, 24 players they can call upon. So it's tough for any team coming up from the Championship now. When I joined the club had already had a successful year staying in the Premier League. The team spirit was excellent, actually. There's some real good characters in and around the squad. I know obviously, the new manager had come in and signed me, but there's new players coming in the door, and there's just a great feel to the place, really, with obviously the team getting promoted, a couple of years previously and staying up. It's just a great place to be. That first year was, like I said, we had some superb results, and it was a very successful season with, the club just staying in the Premier League again.
Yeah, you mentioned Chris Hughton there, obviously the guy that brought you to Norwich. What was your relationship like with him at the time? It's like you say, brought you to the club, so and had a very high opinion of you. How did you get on working with him in close quarters for the period of time that you had?
Yeah, really well. Like I said, I had a tricky start. I didn't start my time very well, and like I say, he left me out of the team, but that was justified, really. I had to get myself fit and right. And then once I was fit, I played most games, and I like the way he set the team up. It's quite a sort of defence minded, really.
Split opinions at the time, didn't it? I mean, the way he set the team up.
Definitely, yeah, because I think at the time, the manager previously was playing sort of a bit more free-flowing football and certainly a different style, but Chris Hughton was more certainly defence-minded, really concentrated on keeping a clean sheet before anything else, really. And like you say, that split opinions within probably fans and players, actually. But we got good results. So, I thoroughly enjoyed playing under Chris Hughton, and it was a good time.
You mentioned the difficult start that you had, and it's always, and we know how football works. When a player comes in and maybe doesn't perform in the way that they would hope, the fans are always very quick. First impressions count, don't they? And I'm sure at the time you probably received some criticism from supporters as well, maybe as the management team, and dipping out of that. When you're a new signing in that position, do you feel like you have to prove people wrong? Do you have to kind of keep yourself grounded because, like you say, you knew there was more to come? How do you kind of approach and deal with that situation?
Yeah, it's difficult because obviously you go to a new club and you want to start well and get the fans on side straight away and be liked. Of course you do, but that's not always the case. It's obviously sometimes difficult moving to a different part of the country or whatever, and you've got a house move and everything else going on. So there's lots to it. Everyone wants a dream start and win your first game and have a blinder, but it don't always work like that. So. For me, it's important. I knew probably after that first game that I wasn't, physically ready. So I had to go away and sort of get myself right. And I knew that, when I was fit, then I'd and I played, I'd produce consistent performances and stay in the team. So that was key for me, really.
You mentioned injuries earlier on. Do you feel injuries prevented you from playing at Norwich as much as you should do? Obviously, you had a loan spell away at a point as well, Sheffield Wednesday. Without those injuries, do you feel you would have been able to play more games for Norwich City than you ended up doing?
Yeah, certainly. So in the first year, I dislocated my shoulder, which kept me out for about two months probably. And then the second season, I had a really bad hamstring injury, which I was out for 3 months probably with that one. And then that was the second season when the team started struggling a little bit, and then pressure was mounting on Chris Hughton's job and stuff. So, it turned a bit tricky after that. And after that hamstring injury, obviously the third year in the Championship, new manager came in, Alex Neil, and wasn't really in his plan. So that was my third year. I had a short period on loan at Fulham back end of the third season, and then going back to Norwich, I knew I still wasn't in the plans. I still had another 2 years on my contract, and Alex Neil said that I'm free to go out on loan. So Sheffield Wednesday took me, which was a good opportunity for me at the time. But yeah, I think I know a lot of players can say this, but if I wouldn't have had the bad hamstring injury that I got, I felt maybe it would have been a chance I could have helped the team stay in the Premier League. But I certainly would have played more games, and that would have been great.
Is that frustrating as a player? Do you look back at that as regret? Because obviously it's really hard, because you can't. I know you can control injuries to some extent, but a lot of the time it does come down to luck, and so there's probably an element of frustration when it doesn't fall your way.
Oh, certainly, yeah. There's nothing worse as a player when you get a long-term injury, especially things like hamstrings, which tend to come back and they can lead to other injuries as well. So it's bitterly frustrating. As a player, you can only sort of conduct yourself in the right manner and do things at the right time, to make sure you're in the best place possible to perform at the highest level. And sometimes things don't go your way. You're unlucky with injuries and stuff, which a lot of players have to deal with. Just part and parcel, I suppose. But that's the biggest frustration is having a sort of bad injury and not being able to contribute to helping the side.
You played for some really good clubs throughout your career. Sunderland, I mean, we've spoken about Hull already. Fulham, Sheffield Wednesday. I mean, some excellent stadiums there and atmospheres as well, I'm sure. How did Norwich compare to them? What was it like at Carrow Road, and how was it different to maybe other teams that you played for?
Yeah, coming from Sunderland, it felt a lot similar actually to Sunderland, albeit slightly sort of smaller in terms of stadium, fan base and everything. But no, very similar clubs. The way the clubs were run were quite similar, and the clubs made you feel very important as a player, and laid everything on the table, for you to go out and perform. So I'd say that was very similar, and the whole again really quite similar in the way the clubs were. Obviously, Sunderland and Norwich were further down the line, so things had sort of improved slightly, and the way players were dealt with was slightly different. But no, certainly those three clubs, Hull, Sunderland and Norwich, are three great clubs I played for, and very proud to have done so.
Yeah, I think your first sort of Premier League minutes and goal came at Hull as well, so you must have really good memories of everything that you achieved there. You were there for a real period of time, but played a lot of games in quite that period of time as well.
Yeah, so I had 3 years there. So I played, obviously, first year in the Championship, and the second year Championship got promoted, and then a year in the Premier League there. So I played pretty much every game. I didn't miss any games for injury in them 3 years. And getting my first taste of Premier League football in that third year was amazing, really. It was my first experience of the Premier League, and didn't really know what to expect as a player who played in League One 2 years previous. Going into that, I was, questioning myself whether I'd have what it takes to play in the Premier League. And the team started the league so well that year. I think after 9 games, we had 20 points. So it was like a big start. And we had some great results, beating the likes of Arsenal and Spurs away, and Fulham and West Ham at home. So we had some superb results. And that start set us up for the season. In the end, we managed to just stay up by the skin of our teeth. But it was a great experience, and I managed to play every minute of every game that first season in the Premier League, and it was amazing time for me playing. And then on the back of that, got the move to Sunderland, so it was a good time for me then.
I know obviously you're sort of watching from afar. I don't know how plugged you are to sort of the situation at Norwich, but what have you kind of made of their season so far? There's quite a bit of fan frustration around, I think it feels at the moment. David Wagner's been under pressure at various stages, feels like he's a little bit in that situation again heading into Friday's game. What have you made of it? Because as you know, when Norwich are in the Championship, that expectation is always to be competing towards the top end, and it's been a bit of a struggle this year.
Yeah, I think when you see Norwich in the Championship, you always expect them to be near the top of the table. Some of the previous seasons they've had in the Championship, but they've run away with it. You just expect that again, but it's such a tough league, the Championship. There's so many there's teams that have been in the Premier League previously, and I think that the Championship itself gets stronger and stronger. I've not, seen too much of Norwich, but I've seen their results, and it does seem very inconsistent. 1 week they have a good result, and the next week something disappointing. So I can see the fans' frustration. I think it's just about trying to find a settled side, if you like, and try and build confidence in the team and get consistent results.
And you mentioned it there, but consistency as a player, particularly as a defender, how important is that when you're in a settled back four? Because I think Norwich have changed it about quite a lot this season in kind of searching for a formula. Kenny McLean's played there a little bit. As a defender, is it really important to kind of have those, or have that consistency that you know who's going to be next to you and know kind of how the defence is going to function in that sense?
Yeah, most definitely. I think looking back on my career, when I looked at my most consistent times was when I played with someone regular. So that is so key, really. I know obviously the circumstances changed that with suspensions and injuries, and generally if a team loses a couple of games, their manager's going to want to look to change it. So it can be difficult, but I think certainly as a centre back, when you can play with someone regular and you know their game inside out, and you know what they can and can't do, and where they sort of going to be and when they're not going to be, like, it makes things so much easier. I think that's generally with the team all round. If you can have a settled side, that makes things so much easier for everyone.
Yeah, and I guess final question really, I wanted to ask you kind of what you're up to now. I'm retired obviously from, well, unless you're going to tell me different, retired from football.
Yeah.
What are you up to? How are you feeling your time at the moment? Are you interested in coaching? I mean, how are you kind of thinking?
Yeah, so I never really got into coaching. Obviously a lot of players at Norwich and other clubs that done their badges towards the end of their careers, but never really fancied it. So I haven't even done my badges, so it's not really for me, coaching. So when I finished, I retired in 2019, just before COVID. So a bit of a blessing really, because I was 35 and felt I'd sort of done enough and had enough really. So I went straight into working with an agent, doing a bit of stuff on that side of things. So I've done that for a couple of years, but wasn't really happy in doing it, I don't think. So I've got into property stuff now. So
nice.
Yeah, so I bought a house with a friend of mine and developed it and sold it on, and we've gone again with another one. So that's keeping me busy, doing bits and pieces at the house, and I'm working on the property side of things. So obviously totally different to 30, but just obviously you finish at 35 and then you've got the rest of your life to try and take care of. So mentally and physically it's important that you can try and find something you enjoy.
Yeah, how have you found retirement? Because I think you speak to different footballers and some really enjoy it and relish that sort of sense of what's next. Others don't enjoy it and can find it really, as you say, really mentally tough. How did you kind of find life after football?
It's in tough moments, I think. You go from doing a job that you absolutely love and playing football every day to not having it no more. It is tough. I wouldn't say I've missed it too much. The thing I've missed most would be Premier League football, like playing for Hull, playing for Sunderland and Norwich in the Premier League was amazing days, really. Just the experiences you get by going to different stadiums and playing against some of the world's best players. And having a fan base behind you, cheering you on, it's amazing, really, being a professional footballer and in the top league especially. So I'd say I've missed that, but for me, just having that behind me and having them memories and being proud of what I achieved in football keeps me going, really, into the next thing I decide to do. And obviously at the moment it's a bit of property stuff, but wherever the future holds, I can always look back and with fond memories of a career playing in the Premier League mainly.